Welcome to JDMBI.com. This is Jonas Reports for the 18th. Well, we saw Friday more of that fade of the election bonus, and we could see that as we started to get that collapse from the magenta. And also at the same time, we're getting a DOC spread right as it started to take place below the ABM yellow. So all the elements were in to just fill, which we still haven't completed, by the way, the positive extreme going back all the way to the 58 range. So there's still room for that to still take place. The softening still present within the overall reading, and you had a quick fade off of shorts, which means a lot of them covered in between that. So it's going to have to rebuild again to see if we're going to have the continuation of selling. But rollover from a DOC standpoint, from a daily, so this is pretty straightforward from that standpoint. The short-term buyers, though, having dipped below, that's usually the negative. But once they pop back above, it's just completely reset. So the opportunity for them to hold the line at this particular stage exists. However, still below the red line. You see the magenta here on the extreme histogram, and as long as it stays underneath there, you're going to have continued weakness. So I think they're just going to fight it back and forth, but it becomes fairly straightforward. Above the 61%, you can be long. Above the ABM green, likewise. So a lot of those become excellent playoffs. Above and below, and then of course intraday signal just makes it pretty clear. And the intraday on this was extremely clear. Didn't require much thinking at all. From an NQ standpoint, that you can see, we got to that positive extreme fill. So a little bit of a divergence because the NQ faded more. And this is where I was saying about there's definitely going to be some winners and losers coming forward into what Trump is talking about, some of the things that he's advocating in that, and you're going to see some rotations back and forth as people think this and that and speculate as to which one is going to be favored, not favored, and how that's going to play out. And there's going to be a lot of drama, so just wait for it to develop, and we'll see the signals as money's moving in a direction. From a Treasury standpoint, still forced to pay the higher rate simply because the market isn't going to accept less if they want to sell any Treasuries. So despite what the Fed is doing with trying to ease, not going to work. So, and it's going to be an interesting one because if you drive energy prices low enough, you built in a deflationary environment. The Fed really doesn't know how to handle those kinds of situations. They want a built-in inflationary setup, and if they don't get it, it's confusing for them. And it's one of the failures of the Federal Reserve paradigm. And so it's that reality that they're still not able to wrap their heads around how you can really improve the lots of regular people versus just business. And in this particular case, what you're talking about from a populist standpoint, you're talking about greater employment, but you're talking about softer margins for businesses. So that's going to have an impact. And of course, large companies not happy with the idea of driving oil prices down because it just makes it harder for them. But hey, that's the reality of free trade and free business. People are able to compete and drive prices to what the actual supply and demand is. Right now at the 67 range, it's elevated, but moving in the right direction, at least from a baseline standpoint. Of course, you have these conversations happening between Putin and them about Nord Stream, and that it wouldn't take much to restore that. And can they help prevent Trump from escalating to de-escalate in the conflict? And the geopolitics of that is all getting crazy, but it's not going to change this reality. I know I talk bad about the euro a lot, but it's not just the euro, it's the treatment of the euro economy. When the U.S. was behaving the same way, that's fine. But with Trump, you're going to get quite the divergence about wanting high growth and lower pricing, and that is really the antithesis of what the euro does. And I don't know that they're able to respond quickly enough or effectively enough. You can see we already broke below the 105 now. Yeah, no surprise with that. And you're going to find this is going to be a problem for emerging markets throughout the world because they're either going to have to adapt quickly, and you have a window right now to prepare. And I don't see many of them really. They're just talking about wanting to fight it. And that's not going to be a winning strategy. From a gold standpoint, it's going to started its little climb back up. It's still in a pretty weak reading standpoint, but way oversold relative to what it is. And what's not oversold, been attracting all the excitement, has been the Bitcoin move and cryptocurrency in general, as they think that they're going to get a very positive presidency, as well as members of the cabinet that are pro crypto. And you hear all these ideas floating about the potential of having a Bitcoin account for the U.S. Blah 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 blah, and why they would do that, it would make no sense. But they have their own unlimited printing press. What do you need Bitcoin for? So ETH not quite having as joyous an opportunity with that, because they're not being talked about in the same way. And so that's the disparity there. That just means Bitcoin's likely to suffer more on the fade down. So from a 50K standpoint, though, I mean, it doesn't get much cleaner. First NBI white spike brought us down to the zero, came back up, new NBI white spike all by itself, and Magenta broke down. And really, how much easier can it get? I mean, for the last 3 days, just all red paint. Don't even have to think about it. First time now we're finally getting here a pop back above the 23%, but it's happening with NBI white leading, so it's a little bit tougher in that situation. But that gap between the magenta and yellow, I think that's likely to hold up and continue to move. But you can see there's some positive extremes built into this already, so we could get some back and forth within it. But very happy with how that paint is, and I think that makes it very simple to see overall. And you can see intraday is a 5-minute here, and it was just a straight cascade lower, and then only at the end of the day they brought it back up just for a little bit to clear out the options, people setting up for their call options starting the next week. And so everyone who bought calls got wiped out, and if you were late getting and holding onto your puts, then you didn't do so well either. But either way, it was quite dramatic for both sides of it. It's all good stuff. So I think this volatility is definitely here for the near term, particularly until everything's finalized. We have some troubling situation where Biden on the outgo met with Zelensky and talked about letting them use U.S. weaponry on Russian soil. Yeah, that may not play out so well. That could be problematic going forward, so keep an eye on that one. But that would be definitely a shakeup on the geopolitical front and could cause things to spiral downhill fast. So, as always, anything relevant, I'll put on Skype chat. Have a good one. Trade well.